What's going on, people? I just feel like saying some things that I think a lot of people are afraid to say because they're too much into and too far gone. They've drank the Kool-Aid too much. Whereas me personally, I look at it as, for one, it was just a game, or is just a game, and two, the hype is never as big or as real as people make it out to be. For instance, my take on God of War, the PS4 God of War, is that the fact that it's a companion game makes it a bad game. Like, that's it. I'm not saying that it's a actual bad story or anything like that. I just myself don't like companion games. I don't think they've ever made a companion game that's been actually good, if that makes any sense. I mean, I like Resident Evil 4, but the part where you have Ashley beside you and you have to keep her with you is probably the one part of Resident Evil that's the worst part. In fact, I've seen a lot of reviews that they complain about that part in general. When they turn around and talk about how good the game is, that seems to be the one part of the game they can't stand. And it's not just God of War. I don't like the companionship of Fable 2, Fable 3. I don't like them because they just, the AI is more in the way than being helpful. In fact, I have video on my channel from where I played God of War, and the little kid literally kept shooting at a rock instead of shooting at the bad guy. I think there should be video on here from when I played Uncharted: The Lost Legacy a couple years ago, where she was shooting at the air and not the bad guys. This is why I say I don't like these games. I'm not attacking the story of it. I just don't like it because it's a companion game or has a companion part in it. Therefore, I don't like that part. But because I have a issue with companion games, it apparently triggers people. Oh my God, he's talking negative about God of War or Fable or Uncharted. First of all, I love Uncharted. I've beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Golden Abyss. I don't hate Uncharted. I just don't like The Lost Legacy because it is a companion game. You can't just go through as a single player and play it. You're dragging AI with you, and the AI is nowhere near on par to match the skill level you, the player, have. Another thing that people have an issue with me over when it comes to how I see video games is God of War, the one on PS2, the second one from PS2, the third one on PS3, Ascension, the two that are on, I think it's Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. All those games, I personally find them boring and repetitive. Because before the PS4 game came out, it was kind of like you started at the end of the game, and then it was like, oh, 2 days later, this is where the real beginning happens. I never understood why the fuck they felt the need to give us the ending at the beginning, because we all knew what was going to happen by the time we got there. Oh, you're going to defeat Zeus or whatever god it is, making it seem less of an impact. And that's to me personally, I just don't find that kind of storytelling to be really any good, and I would much rather have the ending be the ending instead of you telling me at the beginning, okay, so you've seen what's fixing to happen, you kind of already know what's going to happen, and there is not like any extensive drawn out past that point. Like, I think God of War may have had in 3, they might have drawn it out past that initial ending just a little bit, but not a lot, to try to switch it up a little bit. But I find God of War to be really repetitive and really boring. And a lot of people don't like that. But a lot of people don't like to look at the negative sides of popular games because they're popular. And just because they're popular, a lot of people feel like, oh, they can't come under any kind of criticism or any kind of scrutiny because they have such a big following, because their fan base is huge. That doesn't excuse anything. If the game has bugs and glitches in it, especially as of recent, not only Cyberpunk 2077, but Fallout 76, especially Fallout's a high profile game. Fallout 76 came under so much criticism and everything like that, even though it was a high profile game, and rightfully so. But even still, even if it didn't have all those things, even if it was just buggy and glitchy to the normal extent of a Bethesda game, somewhere somebody would have been like, man, I would really like to say that, Fallout 76 is at best. But then everybody who's a Fallout fan feels like that person's got to die or be shut down because he has a difference of an opinion on the Fallout franchises, especially that one game. And I feel like that's just something that in the gaming community we really need to move past, because each individual person has their own individual thought process on what they consider to be a good or a bad game. Me, myself, I didn't get into Halo until Halo 2. I still think Halo 1 is a piece of shit game. I still think Halo 1 should not have the following it does have. But doesn't change the fact that it's got a really big following. I myself just don't like it. I don't like it because there's the complaints people had for Breath of the Wild are the complaints I had for Halo 1. There is way too much open room and not enough enemies, if that makes any sense. Like, I can literally drive around in Halo for a good 20 minutes before running into an actual enemy. Like, that's just, to me, that's an actual reason to not like Halo. But if you're a Halo fan, you're going to be like, oh, well, you don't like Halo anyway, so your whole idea is bullshit. Whoa, did I say anything that was actually false? No. Anybody who plugs in Halo 1 can literally find a spot where you're driving from one end of the map to the other, and there's nothing in between those spots. It's just what's around you. You're kind of looking at the scenery. But I'm not saying the game is a bad game. I'm just saying that there are plenty of areas in Halo, especially the first one, where it's drug out, and it feels like if they would have chopped out certain spots, it would have shrunk the gameplay down. It wouldn't have been like 8 hours. It'd have been more like maybe 3.5, 4. And it's going against the Halo community, even though you didn't say anything negative. You just said that there were a whole lot of open spaces. Nothing wrong with that. See what I'm saying? And I think that we got to get rid of this way of thinking that because you might have a difference of opinion, or you might have a thought about a popular game that might not necessarily be a good thought, that you're this like cancer to gaming. We got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of this thinking of just because you present a different perspective that the majority doesn't agree with, that you're wrong, you're toxic, you're a hater, you're whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to get rid of that thinking. We got to be able to start taking constructive criticism better. Because I'm not stating a fact. I'm stating something that's just an opinion. It might not be something you necessarily like, but it's just that. It's an opinion. You see what I'm saying? Like, I put out on Twitter that, hey, I said that Halo Wars and Gears Tactics were similar. I said they were similar, and then at the very end of it, I said, but they're XCOM. which when you look up the games, XCOM is always brought up. So I'm like, even in the Gears Tactics, it says Halo Wars is a RTS, then Gears Tactics is this turn-based, more like, and then there's XCOM. So at the very end of the tweet, it says XCOM. And for some reason that's overlooked, just because I said Halo Wars and Gears Tactics are similar. Yet if you look at the actual still images, they look very similar. I'm not looking at anything outside of that. I really don't care to, because I'm not a Gears fan, and two, I'm not that big of a Halo fan. And I don't care for Halo Wars. It's just like I don't care about Gears Tactics. I just made an observation, which isn't necessarily false, because like I said, if you go look at those pictures, they look relatively similar. See what I'm saying? And then at the very end of it, for me to put on that, hey, it's actually XCOM, meaning I can understand that, okay, these are two different styles of games. They just have certain aspects that look the same. It's like when people compared Grand Theft Auto to Crackdown or Grand Theft Auto to Saints Row. There's a lot of similarities there. They're not saying they're exactly the same. There's just similarities. So it's understandable. And people do that with God of War as well. Ghost Rider, when it came out, people were like, oh, it's like God of War. Now, I played it and was like, I literally don't see it, but okay. So, like I said, just because the opinion might not be yours, or what's said might not necessarily go with the majority, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to attack somebody. See what I'm saying? You don't have to go at that person just because the majority doesn't see it that way. This idea that we all have to think one way over anything, and then it's got to be an absolute, is kind of the problem with the world, man. I mean, I keep seeing things on, especially here on YouTube, with like voting between Ossoff and what's his name, Warnock, and then the Republican, and they keep throwing terms like radical out there, and I'm like, this is the first election I've ever seen where they threw out words like radical and you know, just like really more extreme ways of pushing that, you know, you don't want this I'm like, I don't really see them as radical, because I've been around since the mid 80s. All right, I was born in 84, and I've seen plenty of elections, and I've never really heard either the Republicans or Democrats refer to the opposite as radical. That's fucking insane. Not one of them are so far gone that you should consider them a radical anything. I mean, if we're talking radical, wouldn't we be talking about like actual like ISIS and shit like that? You see what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be more of a radical? Not people who are Republicans or Democrats, but actual people that do things that affect more than just the party of topic. You see what I'm saying? We just gotta start, one, calm the fuck down. We gotta go from up here to down here to a level head. And that's on everything, but especially in gaming. I really don't understand. Just because, especially with me, my take on PlayStation is not the greatest take in the world. I get that. A lot of people don't like my take on PlayStation. And a lot of people don't like my take on Google Stadia, even though I have absolutely nothing bad to say about the actual service, because I can't use it, so I don't know. But when I say something like Google Stadia won't let me get past the free trial page, people freak the fuck out. Even though Google themselves reached out to me personally after me posting that I couldn't do that on Twitter, they reached out and said, yeah, there's not anything we can do about the free trial page. It is free to access. However, I have to agree to the free trial before I can get access. So to me, that's not really free access. Yet everybody found fault with me saying this, even though I addressed that Google themselves reached out to me and said, yeah, no, it's free access, but with that free trial page, there's not anything we can do to get you to get past it so you can experience the whole shits before I can even get it on my television or even pull it up on my computer or my fucking tablet, which all have it. But because the free trial page is bam right there when you sign up, you have to click on it and use it right then. I'm not doing that right now. I just want to get to the home page, and Google themselves say, yeah, there's not any way you can go around that free trial page to get to the actual user interface. You gotta do that first. So again, I'm not talking bad about the service. I'm not saying anything negative about Stadia there. I'm saying that I can't get past the free trial page. And Google themselves, again, said, yeah, no, you can't get around it. But somehow I'm so wrong for saying this. That's very weird. That's very odd that I'm the bad guy for saying, hey, Google, I can't get past your free trial page to see what the user interface is like and see how everything works and how it all functions. And then them going, yeah, no, there's nothing we can do. We'll take this feedback and utilize it. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that Google Stadia does not advertise, because up until recently, I haven't seen any Google Stadia ads. I watch Hulu constantly. I'm on YouTube constantly. Me saying that Google doesn't advertise Stadia is not necessarily wrong if I have two eyes and they don't see a Google Stadia advertisement. Like right now they're playing one on Hulu, but it's for that, what is it, Immortal Phoenix Rising game. I'm kind of convinced Immortal Phoenix Rising was probably either approached by Google or they said, hey Google, we want to promote Stadia with this game. One of the two. I don't know how it went, but being this is the one game that I see advertised for Google Stadia, I gotta think there was something there. Considering before this was a thing, I didn't see any. See what I'm saying? So stop with all this over the top insanity just because my views or my opinion might not be the same as yours. Because am I you? No, I'm me. And you're you. We're not supposed to have the same views on everything. We're not supposed to agree on everything. First of all, if we agreed on everything, how in the fuck are we supposed to grow as just regular people in general? How is that possible? So if we don't agree with everything, that leaves rooms to debate. But straight up going crazy and just like, oh, you're this or that, just because you don't agree makes it impossible for you to actually grow on any level, because you're not willing to talk and actually have a conversation. See what I'm saying? I'm willing to have a conversation over anything that I talk about on the channel. Even if it's not a popular opinion, I'll express why I think this or why or how I came to that conclusion. And then we can talk about it. But, oh, you should just shut the fuck up or you should hang yourself, whatever, is actually hurting you, not me. Considering how small-minded you are. You know what I'm saying? If you want to talk to me, if you want to debate on what's going on or how I came to that, we can do that. But thinking I'm gonna actually go apeshit crazy on you for me having a different viewpoint than you do, Nah, I'm not about that. I'm not doing that because I'm trying to actually grow. And if anything, I'm willing to sit down and talk with anybody. But I'm not willing to sit down and talk to somebody who wants to deal within absolutes. Because when you deal with an absolute, you lose. You don't win anything. Okay, which is why I'm willing to argue numbers all the time. I'm willing to argue that all the time. Xbox One, the system overall came in 4th place. It actually sold worse than the 3DS. Yes, that system, which is so much weaker than the base Xbox One, actually outsold the Xbox One. Okay? And the Switch is on its way to outsell PS4 in the same amount of time on the market. I'm not saying it's actually outselling the lifespan numbers. I'm saying the 4-year span. But people freak the hell out because of that. And I'm like, why are you losing your head? Why are you going so completely apeshit here? Because Nintendo could very well outsell PS4's 4-year mark when the Nintendo Switch very well might be done by the time it turns 5. Might be done by the time it turns 4. We don't know. And yet you're clinging as if this is a very life, like it's a life threat. Like, oh my God, if you say anything negative about PS4 sales numbers, it's going to kill me. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill me. It's not going to kill 3 kids down the block. It's not going to hurt nobody. Okay, this is a very easy, debatable topic. If we look at the numbers, PS4 sold like 70 mil in 4 years. The Nintendo Switch is more than likely going to sell 70 mil by the time we reach March 2021. And it's very possible that it could outsell 70 mil by the time we reach it. It's very possible. But again, this is something that for some odd reason, when it comes to gamers, the community for some reason is very easily triggered and acts like a bunch of entitled children. And it doesn't matter what system it is. I've been guilty of doing that myself. And I am legitimately stopping because at the end of the day, I pay them. They don't pay me. When I say I pay them, I mean I literally pay them. I bought this. They didn't send it to me. I bought this. They didn't send it to me. You see what I'm saying? So why in the fuck do I feel the need to be so over the top sensitive and so fucking small-minded just because of an opinion? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's actually sit down and have a conversation. Oh shit, excuse me. I did not know it's fixing to heal like that. But anyway, I'm out this bitch though.